I think we have exhausted the time limit allowed under the ROP, so the question time ends here.
Motion. Proposed resolution under the Interpretation and General Clauses Ordinance to amend the Solicitor's Accounts Amendment Rules 2012 and the Accountant's Report Amendment Rules 2012. I now call upon Secretary for Justice to speak and move the motions. Secretary for Justice. President, I move that the motion as printed on the agenda be passed. The motion is to propose amendments to the Solicitor's Accounts Amendment Rules 2012. Beg your pardon, President, I forgot the microphone. The motion is to propose amendments to the Solicitor's Accounts Amendment Rules 2012 and the Accountant's Report Amendment Rules 2012. These rules were made by the Council of the Law Society of Hong Kong pursuant to Section 73 of the Legal Practitioners Ordinance Cap 159 with the prior approval of the Chief Justice. The major objectives of the Solicitor's Accounts Amendment Rules 2012 are to set out the principles that must be observed by solicitors in handling clients' money, and to extend the application of the Solicitor's Accounts Rules as amended to solicitor corporations, foreign lawyers, and foreign firms. The Accountant's Report Amendment Rules 2012 mainly amend the existing definition of client account and introduce a new definition of solicitor. These two sets of rules were tabled at the Legislative Council on October 17, 2012, together with 3 other related pieces of subsidiary legislation made under Cap 159. A subcommittee was subsequently formed by the House Committee to scrutinize the 5 sets of subsidiary legislation. At the meeting of the subcommittee held on November 13, 2012, the Law Society agreed that certain amendments proposed by the legal advisor to the subcommittee should be made to the Solicitor's Accounts Amendment Rules 2012 and the Accountant's Report Amendment Rules 2012. These amendments have the support of the subcommittee. Most of these proposed amendments relate to the drafting aspects of both the Chinese and English texts of the rules and have no impact on the substance of the provisions in question. The administration has no objection to these proposed amendments. In these circumstances, I agree to move this motion to propose the amendments agreed between the Law Society and the subcommittee. I'd like to take this opportunity to express my appreciation of the efforts made by Honorable Dennis Kwok, the chairman of the subcommittee, and other members of the subcommittee. President, I move that the motion be passed. Thank you.
Mr. Dennis Kwok.
Chairman of the subcommittee on the 5 sets of amendment rules made under sections 73 and 73 capital A of the Legal Practitioners Ordinance, gazetted on 12 October 2012, I report to this Council on the deliberations of the subcommittee. The 5 sets of amendment rules are made by the Council of the Law Society of Hong Kong under sections 73 and 70 capital A of the Legal Practitioners Ordinance with the prior approval of the Chief Justice. According to the Law Society, the main objectives of the amendment rules are to modernize the requirements for solicitors to account to their client for interest on money deposited with them and to codify these requirements under the Solicitor's Accounts Rules. The subcommittee supports the objectives of the amendment rules. Mr. President, the subcommittee has examined the principles that a solicitor must observe in handling clients' money as stipulated in proposed new Rule 1 capital A under the Solicitor's Accounts Amendment Rules 2012. According to the Law Society, these principles are drawn up with reference to the Solicitor's Accounts Rules of the United Kingdom. At present, the principles that a solicitor must observe in handling clients' money are scattered in various rules made under the Legal Practitioners Ordinance and the practice directions issued by the Law Society's Council to its members. The subcommittee has sought explanation from the proposed requirement that a client account must be an account at a bank located and licensed in Hong Kong, and the proposed waiver provision. Under the proposed waiver provision, the Law Societies Council may, on prior written application, waive in writing the provision relating to the location of a client account subject to the conditions that it may impose. The Law Society has explained that past experience reveals that in the event of intervention by the Law Societies Council in the solicitor's mishandling of clients' money, there may be problems with the access to the information on the client account concerned if the account is maintained at an overseas bank or an overseas branch of a bank licensed in Hong Kong. Hence, the imposition of the aforesaid requirement is in the interest of the solicitor's clients, hence the public. As regards the proposed waiver provision, the Law Society has advised that the Law Society, a solicitor, shall not deposit a client's money in an overseas bank account even on client's instruction, unless there is a waiver application, which will only be granted by the Law Society's Council on very good reasons. In response to the comments of the legal advisor to the subcommittee, the Law Society has agreed to make certain amendments to improve the drafting of the amendment rules. The subcommittee supports these amendments, and the motion moved by the Secretary for Justice just now is on these amendments. Lastly, the subcommittee has noted that in this instance, no information such as that provided by the administration in its Legislative Council briefs has been provided by the Law Society to this Council to explain the background of the amendment rules so as to facilitate members' understanding of the amendments. In this regard, the subcommittee would like to remind all policy makers in future that at the time of introducing subsidiary legislation of this kind, they would need to provide to the Legislative Council adequate background information in the form of Legislative Council briefs on the proposed legislative amendments so as to facilitate members in the scrutiny of the subsidiary legislation. Those are my reports as chairman of the subcommittee. Thank you, Mr. President.
Does any other member wish to speak? If not, I now call upon the Secretary for Justice to reply. This debate will come to a close after the Secretary for Justice has replied. The Secretary for Justice. Mr. Deputy President, I don't have anything else to add. I now put the question to you, and that is, the motion moved by the Secretary for Justice be passed. Will those in favour please raise their hands? Those against, please raise their hands. I think the question is agreed by majority of the members present. I declare the motion passed. There are a total of 3 members' motions for this meeting. First,